Jumbo Deer Community and Aquaba. Welcome to Espresso Talk Today. I'm your host, Amma Robin, and I'm having my curcuma coffee for this powerful show. Today, we will discuss Black liberation. I know you're thinking, what? Don't we have that already? Wasn't that something for the 1960s or 1970s, maybe into the 80s? Yeah, it was for that. But Black liberation is for today. And yes, Black liberation is the theme, and it's the ultimate goal of all of my work on this podcast, the newsletter, and my activism. We don't talk about liberation much anymore. Definitely not enough. But this is the episode you have been waiting for, even if you didn't know it. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're feeling this show, please share it with your fam, your crew, your circle, your gathering, everyone in your community. Now, grab that espresso or tea. Tea drinkers are welcome here too, and close that door behind you. We're going to get deep and we're going to get real. And I hope that you all are ready for this. I'm back and I'm here. And I am so glad that you're here with me. So I say welcome to all of our current audience and everyone who's new listening too. And I say welcome to my dear brothers and sisters and my beloved gender neutral and gender non-conforming folks. Everyone is welcome here, and we are so glad to be together. For the past few months, I have been discussing the enduring work ethic of the making a way out of no way theme. Remember that? Making a way out of no way, which has been a foundation for Black people striving to succeed in the United States or wherever you can find us, which is everywhere. And yeah, we've been successful in many ways, very successful, and we've made major contributions all over the world, and we have fought for and achieved civil rights, which has uplifted and empowered everyone. We've made a way out of no way to improve our lives, and everyone has benefited from our resilience, our resourcefulness, and our determination. So when white people or women or some groups, say that we haven't done anything for anybody, that's not true. Because a lot of the gains and the changes that we have fought for, have made everybody's life better. And I think that's a wonderful thing. But we have also paid a price to make a way out of no way. Our mental health and physical health have suffered. The constant wear and tear on our bodies has led to disproportionate and dangerous levels of hypertension, heart disease, cardiovascular illness, depression, anxiety, and other chronic illnesses. It has also shortened our lives and reduced our well-being. This is called John Henryism, and it is killing us. Like the legend John Henry, we're fighting the machinery of structural racism, facing obstacles, confronting difficulties, and doubling down on our work and determination as we strive for success and to uplift ourselves, our families, and our communities, and everyone else, as I just said. Like John Henry, who successfully beat the machine, we are also beating the machinery of structural racism. But there's a catch. Right after John Henry beat the steam engine, the machine, he collapsed and died. Unfortunately, many of us, many Black people, are also suffering chronic or severe illnesses or even death after beating the machinery of racism. We're making that way out of no way, but we're paying a very high price for this. What should we do about it? What should we do about this? Should we continue to work within a system that has historically marginalized and oppressed us? Should we keep challenging the machinery of racism? Well, I'm so glad that you asked, because this is another manifestation of the chaos of living Black in predominantly white spaces. What should we do? If we don't have an answer to that, and maybe you don't right now, perhaps we're not asking the right question. Perhaps the first question is, what do we need? What do Black people really need? This is my answer, liberation. That is my answer. Yours may be different, but we're going to go with mine for right now. To achieve liberation, what should we do? We can't keep living in the chaos that requires us to struggle for equality, for equal rights, for respect, for justice, and for the hope of receiving the privilege that others already receive. We could continue to struggle for success and for the ability to feed and support our families and future generations. We have always struggled. We have made a way out of no way. And we've been successful in many ways, as I said earlier, but we've seen the physical and mental toll that it's taken on us, and it's a really high price to pay. Are we still willing to pay that price? Should we have to pay that price? Do you want to pay that price? Yep, that's a difficult question. So, I think now is a good time to take our first breather break. This gives us all a chance to breathe or think for a minute. We have a lot to process here. And before we dive any deeper, I think it's a good time to breathe, to relax, and to clear our minds. Breathing helps with this. I'll see you in a minute, and you all know that I love this song.
Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Hey. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and by my nose.
Asante Sana for staying with me. I hope that y'all did a little bit of breathing or whatever you needed to do to clear your mind. I did, and I'm ready to get back to it. Now, back to the question. Should we have to sacrifice our health? Do you want to pay that price? Do you? This is what we have done so that we can make that way out of no way. This is what we've done to make the way out of no way. But liberation is the goal. That is the real goal. True liberation requires that we challenge the existing white supremacist structures and systems that have forced us to make a way out of no way. As Audre Lorde famously said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. So we need to assert our individual and collective power and dismantle the systems of white supremacy, racism, and capitalism that perpetuate our oppression. We need our own tools. We need our own house. We need to be our own master. Black liberation in the context of making a way out of no way includes the broader goal of dismantling the systems of oppression that have historically constrained us and our communities, and actually people of all people and communities of color. and that have limited our opportunities for success and even taken away any thought or any action towards self-determination. And if you don't believe that, just take a look at the history, because that is very clear, and that has just been brutal. But for now, I have to say, look, reform. People talk a lot about reform, reforming the system, changing the system, that the system just needs a little bit of tweaking. Reform is not enough. DEIA plus programs are not enough. That alphabet soup is just getting longer and longer, but yet nothing's changing. Affirmative action is not enough. And I'm a believer in affirmative action, but it's not enough. Police reform is not enough. And actually, not many reforms are happening anyway. But trying to fix that damaged, racist, white supremacist system, trying to reform that would not be enough. Prison reform is not enough. Food stamps, welfare, and charter schools are not enough. And believe me, I am not down on social support networks and nets that help people when they get down, because everybody can struggle that way. And I believe in these kinds of systems that help people. But they're not enough. A few black billionaires, not enough. Reforming any of the systems designed by white supremacists is not enough. And let's face it, they all were. A seat alone at the table is not enough. Allowing us to make a way out of no way is not enough. As Audre Lorde said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. At its core, Black liberation recognizes and understands that the obstacles faced by Black communities are not simply individual or isolated challenges, but rather the result of systemic racism, white supremacy, and other forms of structural oppression. These systems of power operate on multiple levels, and they shape everything from access to education and employment to the criminal justice system and beyond. Everything is touched by that. To achieve Black liberation, it's so important to address the root causes of inequality and injustice, as I would say, white supremacy and racism, then work towards completely dismantling those systems of oppression and inequality. And this goes beyond advocating for policy reforms or demanding diversity programs or challenging the dominant narratives that are justifying and perpetuating oppression, because we're accepting that those narratives are dominant when they're not. They shouldn't be. It requires centering the voices and experiences of those most impacted by systemic injustice and building coalitions across diverse communities, and not just racially diverse communities, but ethnically diverse, religiously diverse, economically diverse communities to advance common goals. Black liberation also challenges us to envision alternative futures where no way simply does not exist, where Black people are not merely surviving within oppressive systems, but thriving in societies that prioritize our well-being, dignity, and freedom. And we're talking about systems that will not superiorize one group over another, or will not inferiorize another group. We can develop this vision that reimagines the fundamental existing structures of society to center the needs and goals of, in this situation, Black communities, and to ensure that all people have opportunity to reach their fullest potential. Ultimately, Black liberation calls on us not to make a way out of no way within existing systems. It calls on us to actively work towards dismantling those systems and build new ones that are founded on principles of justice, equality, and liberation for everyone. You see, that's what I'm saying. When Black people are fighting for rights and achieving liberation, that is liberation for everyone. Everyone. And it is a transformative journey that requires collective action, solidarity, and an unwavering commitment to the vision of a world where Black lives truly matter. Black excellence is recognized and valued. Black joy is real and accepted. Black health is supported. And Black culture is honored. And this also calls on everyone to envision a completely different, completely new world. Yeah, I got to pause for that one because I'm going to ask you to do something a bit strange in a podcast show. I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. We're going to do an interesting imagination exercise. But first, let's take another breather break here. Liberation is a lot to think about. So let's take some time now to breathe, to think, stretch, do push-ups, grab some coffee or tea, do whatever that speaks to your soul. This is some great stuff, but we all need a short break. We all need to breathe. I will see you in a minute, and we will get straight to that exercise.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit.
We are back. Asante Sana for showing the courage to stay in the building and discuss these important but difficult, admittedly difficult topics. Are you ready for the imagination exercise? Great, let's do it. Now, if you can, do this safely. Close your eyes. So you're not driving or you're not walking or anything. Maybe you're sitting on a park bench. Maybe you're sitting at home. But, if you're on the move anywhere, don't close your eyes, please. Otherwise, you can do this exercise with your eyes open and, just keep your heart open too. Now, take a deep breath. Imagine a world where there is no racism, there is no poverty, there's no want or lack, hate or misogyny, or hierarchy of any kind. Take a minute. What does this world look like? What does it feel like? That's a lot to imagine. Let's take a smaller step. Imagine what justice looks like, or imagine what peace looks like, or what equality looks like. Let's take a minute. Now, perhaps that's too big. Let's try this. Imagine going to a restaurant and getting excellent service, getting treated with courtesy, getting a great table, and having a totally wonderful experience. Take a minute. You may have already had that experience, so it'll be easy to view, or you may not have. But just take a minute to imagine that. Or imagine sitting in a classroom and seeing the teacher being supportive to all of the students, challenging and uplifting all of the students. Imagine feeling safe and smart in class. Imagine feeling that making mistakes or giving wrong answers is welcomed as a learning experience. Imagine looking forward to learning in class and feeling safe in the classroom. Many students have not seen this, but let's take a minute to visualize that, to feel that. Now, here's the final visualization. Imagine that a police officer is a symbol of safety and service rather than fear and intimidation. Imagine approaching a police officer for something like maybe directions, and you are treated with respect and kindness. Take a minute to visualize this. Perhaps you have had that experience already, and so if so, that's wonderful. But if not, I hope you were able to visualize that. And how did it feel? You can open your eyes now. These situations might be difficult to imagine because perhaps we have never or rarely experienced them. But liberation demands that we build new structures and create new systems. How can we be free under these existing systems? So we need to know what the new systems look like. We need to know what they feel like, what new interactions and safe and liberated interactions look and feel like. How will we know that we've achieved our goal, of justice if we don't know what justice looks or feels like? Same with our liberation. What does liberation look like to you? What does it feel like? What would you do if no way didn't even exist? If you could take any and every way, if everything was open to you, if there were no obstacles, what would you do? What would that feel like? Now, I do know and I do realize that these are difficult things to envision. We've always seen a different world and learned to accept that no way is our reality. But this is no judgment or criticism. This is just the way it's always been presented to us. So that's what we see, and that's what how we think it always has to be. But it absolutely does not. And we can start today envisioning a new world. The political philosopher and activist Angela Davis, a great visionary, once said, "We need to liberate minds as well as liberate society." Yes, liberation begins with our minds. That's why I'm encouraging you to imagine or envision a new world, a new system, a new interaction. Angela Davis envisioned liberating minds as well as society, and the quote that I mentioned continued on by saying, "Prisons do not disappear social problems. They disappear human beings." So one of her focuses was on making prisons disappear. She focused on abolishing prisons, the prison system. Now take a minute, take a breath here. Can you imagine a world, or even your own country, without prisons, without a prison system? Yeah, But it is possible when we envision it, like Angela Davis did and does. Her work to abolish prisons and dismantle the prison industrial complex has paved the way for incredible change. Dr. Davis challenges us to imagine a world without prisons, where communities are empowered to address social issues through restorative justice and transformative practices. Her activism reminds us that true liberation requires us to challenge the existing power structures and envision new possibilities for justice and equality. It begins with the vision. Now think for a moment of the movement to defund the police. Many people shake their heads and say, "Well, that's just not possible," or "it's not desirable." What do you envision? Can you imagine defunding the police? I can, and I often do imagine that. And what I imagine is reducing the bloated, overfunded police budgets and diverting that money to social services like mental health, housing, food programs, education, healthcare, and other supportive services for people. That's my vision, and that's my imagination. And that's what I'm imagining. But this requires that we don't accept the existing systems founded in white supremacy and toxic masculinity and idealized in constant propaganda images on television and other media sources, or the racist fear-mongering propaganda that we're bombarded with on a daily basis, that we're told that that we're taught that we should live in fear and that the police are our saviors. They're not. And we don't have to live in fear. But we have to imagine something different. And okay, I'm going to move on from this part, but what about, this is a bigger one, can you imagine a world without capitalism? And all the white supremacists and classist foundations on which it is built and thrives. Kali Akuno, imagine this. Kali Akuno is actively engaged in anti-capitalist work and advocating for reparations. Mr. Akuno is a political activist, organizer, and co-founder of Cooperation Jackson, a grassroots organization based in Jackson, Mississippi, that's working to build solidarity economies and promote economic democracy. Through Cooperation Jackson, Mr. Akuno and his colleagues are implementing a bold vision for community-owned and cooperatively operated enterprises like worker-owned cooperatives, community land trusts, and sustainable agriculture projects. Their goal is really to create a more equitable and sustainable economic system that empowers marginalized communities and challenges the capitalist mode of exploitation and extraction. Mr. Akuno is a vocal advocate for reparations for Black Americans too, and for other communities that have been historically oppressed and exploited. And he argues that reparations are essential for addressing the legacies of slavery, colonialism, and systemic racism, and also for building a more just and equitable society. Can you imagine what reparations look like? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a world of community-owned and operated enterprises and businesses that support and uplift all of its members? Not one that values some over others, not one that enriches 1% of its members, but one that ensures that everyone is supported. Take a minute. I know this could get uncomfortable because there's stuff about communism and socialism and that gets thrown around. But let's really think about what's underneath it. And let's know that it is possible to have a system that's not based on capitalism, if you can imagine it. Now, I'm going to finish with one last person who is definitely not least in any way a total and true visionary. Someone who dares to imagine a different and better world and to see the best in people whom society, that's us, have discarded. I'm talking about Bryan Stevenson. He is liberating bodies, minds, and society. You're going to want to hear his story. But first, let's take one last breather break here. Then we're going to wind it down, and I got some information I think you're going to want to know. And I really know that y'all are ready for this. Asante Sana for staying with me for this final section. So let me go back. Bryan Stevenson is a powerful voice in the fight against racial injustice and mass incarceration. He's the founder of Equal Justice Initiative, and he's dedicated his career to providing legal representation to individuals on death row and advocating for systemic reforms to address racial bias and discrimination in the criminal justice system. Bryan Stevenson's work highlights the need for truth, reconciliation, and reparations to confront the legacy of slavery, lynching, and racial violence in America. Now, you may say, but wait a minute, he's not looking to dismantle the whole system. Bryan Stevenson is working within the existing system, but he is seeing beyond it. He is seeing beyond it. He's not allowing society to just lock up and throw away the key for young people who've committed crimes or for anyone who was wrongly accused of crimes. And actually that was what was happening before. He is not allowing the system to refuse justice, mercy, or grace to anyone. He once said, "Mercy is most empowering, liberating, and transformative when it's directed at the undeserving. People who haven't earned it, people who haven't even sought it, are the most meaningful recipients of our compassion. We are all broken by something. We all have hurt someone and have been hurt by someone." And he continued on by asking, you got to get ready for this, why do we want to kill all the broken people? What is wrong with us that we think a thing like that can be right? I mean, he really puts it out there. What's wrong with us that we think it can be right to kill another person? Can you imagine, though, mercy for broken people? Can you imagine how we can help broken people rather than by disappearing them? Can you imagine deciding that it is not right to kill all the broken people or any of them? Bryan Stevenson can. I can too, and many others can too. And this is liberation. This is liberating our minds, liberating society. I'm going to have to close here. I'm talking way too much because I have a lot to say about liberation. But I do want to say, as we wrap up this section on this discussion on making a way out of no way, that I am so proud and full of respect for our ancestors who did make a way out of no way for us. Because of them, we are. And I stand and cheer for everyone in our community who is making a way out of no way today so that we can all live better lives. This is Black empowerment. This is how we have confronted the chaos of living Black in predominantly white spaces. But I also mourn and grieve for everyone who suffered and died to make a way out of no way. I stand, we all do, on the shoulders of greatness and feel the love and respect for these giants. And I say asante sana to them for their resilience, resourcefulness, and determination back then and today. As I'm talking about liberation, I'm not putting down their work or their efforts. I respect their resilience and their resourcefulness and determination. Because of them, we are here and able to fight for this and able to survive and even to thrive. Now, what I am saying is that it's time to pick up that mantle and imagine a world where no way does not exist anymore, where no way should have to make way out of no way, where no one should have to make a way out of no way. Envision this new world. Imagine a new world and create this new world. It is possible. We should never have to struggle through no way. No way should never have existed, and it shouldn't exist now, but it does. And our making a way out of no way shows our empowerment. But dismantling the no way shows our liberation, our freedom. And that's what we can envision for ourselves right now, today. Asante sana for being a part of the Espresso Talk Today show. I look forward to continuing these important conversations with you as we envision liberation for all people, not just for some, but for everyone. And Asante Sana for all the people who are working for the liberation of oppressed peoples. I stand in solidarity with you, and I honor you. And so remember, my fellow warriors, know this deep in your soul, you are powerful beyond measure. And together, we are invincible. The real problem with society is white supremacy. You are not the problem. We are not the problem. If you want to keep discussing or just reading about these issues, then you should definitely subscribe to my weekly Black Empowerment newsletter, The Normal Beat. We discuss lots of different issues there. Get your dose of Black empowerment and liberation every single week. There's never a dull moment, but there are lots of powerful, uplifting, and liberating moments. You can subscribe at the Espresso Talk Today website at espressotalktoday.com or on Instagram at Ama Robin L. That's Ama, AMA, _Robin, the letter L. You can also find us on Facebook in our newly opened Espresso Talk Today Black Liberation Lounge. That's right. This group is a safe space for us to hold discussions, share thoughts and ideas, feel joy, express sadness, or just be. And you can join us too on Instagram, where I hold live discussions every Wednesday. Join me on Instagram at Ama Robin L. I'm Ama Robin for Espresso Talk Today. And remember, now more than ever, strength, soul, and reparations. Ashe, fam.